welcome to the new podcast, FOKLZ, with myself, Forder, and of course, Reese, Woklz Football, who apparently has never ever done like a live podcast type thing. So, Reese, it'll be fine. You're kind of guiding me anyway. You're a pro, really.
Yeah, first time for everything, I guess. But yeah, hello, guys.
Yeah. I mean, a bit of a weird one. So essentially what this is going to be a weekly podcast between the two of us chatting, Arsenal for the most part, probably a little bit of football and waffle here and there. But now, oddly enough, we don't really know each other that well, do we? We've just talked briefly off air, so to speak. And it's just two blokes who kind of know a little bit about football having a chat, I guess. That's the way it is. But how's your day been, mate? Has everything been all right?
It's been good. Made some videos like usual. Nothing else really to talk about, but obviously had some decent news with the Arsenal. So I mean, I guess we take that in. And also, international break is finally over, so I think it's a good day for everyone. How's your day been?
Mate, it's so ironic. As you said that, genuinely on my phone, what's popped up is Woklz Football notification. Arsenal's massive contract renewal plan revealed. Oh yeah,
just uploaded a short, I think.
That's so good. And that's genuine. That's not me just planning that. No. Good day, busy at work and stuff. Some of us have got real jobs, Reese. So,
yeah, don't have one of those. So.
But no, and then kind of sorting out the final few tweaks for this, but relatively happy. I reckon over the next few weeks, it'll change and it'll get how we want it. And but I'm happy. The logo's looking all right. It's like a mix between both of us. We got the green and white. We've got, the black and white background. Do you know what? That really wound me up. Okay, so here's the waffle already. I was going to get a picture of Highbury back in the day, like the first picture of Highbury as our background. So I did it, and I found a really good one. Realised we cover the whole thing anyway. So I wasted about half an hour of my life looking for the perfect picture, which was a waste of time. So I just ended up with this one anyway. So it's a completely different one. I think there's actually, is it Camp Nou? Maybe? I don't know.
Well, it's lucky you didn't get that because I was only 5 years old when they got rid of Highbury, and obviously people can't watch football from before they were born. So I have no idea what happened clearly before 2005, so 2006. So yeah, it's lucky we didn't get that one.
Oh, mate. So you never went to Highbury? That's mental. To me, that's mental. But although that just kind of says how old I am in comparison to you, so appreciate that. What was the first game you ever went to?
I don't know. Well, the first Arsenal game I ever saw would have been, because I live in Norwich and I'm from Norwich, it would have been against Norwich at some point. I cannot remember who. I do remember watching them play when it was 1-1 and Ozil scored a chip. I remember seeing that. And then I remember going to the Emirates for a game against West Brom on Boxing Day, and Giroud scored like an 88th minute winner with a header. I went with my granddad. My granddad's a Tottenham supporter, and they kept chanting like, "If you hate Tottenham, stand up." And we keep standing up, and my granddad was not liking it. It was so funny.
That's so good. So how did you become an Arsenal fan if he's a Tottenham fan?
My dad is like a massive Arsenal fan. He's been Arsenal fan for like 54 years, since he was like 12, I think. So he is like basically the reason why I love football. And and the rest, most of my family do support Arsenal. It's just my granddad and his side of family are actually born in Tottenham and from Tottenham. And a lot of my family are from North London, but they are more Tottenham side than Arsenal. So it's kind of funny.
Mate, I mean, to be fair, so my brother-in-law is a Spurs season ticket holder. Genuinely, right? So when he got married to my sister, they had red carpets in the hotel where they were getting married. He refused to walk on the red carpets. My mum had a red car, and I can remember him refusing to get in the car because it was red. I mean, maybe that's a little bit extreme, but I loved it because like how you give like wedding gifts and all those type of things. My dad got up to do a little speech, kind of, father of the bride, nice speech, and instead presented me with an Arsenal shirt just to wind him up, which I always say, I applaud my dad for that. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, obviously we've got a little bit to talk about. Not much this week, ironically. You know, first week, want to start off with a bang, and it's international break. Let's kind of get into it. Let's have a little look, because I guess would you say like the biggest news is about this? I don't know. We beat Real Madrid one way or another.
Yeah,
The
we did.
women's.
I did actually watch that game a little bit. Yeah, I mean it was crazy. To be fair, that's a bit of an omen for the next game. But obviously we play at home first, so we'll have to do it the other way around. 3 goals at the Bernabeu.
Good. That, I mean, could you imagine? Marino turns up, gets 2 goals, does a Russo. I take that. I mean, one thing I would say is it did show, you know, even if you are behind, getting to the Emirates and playing, you can turn it around. It doesn't have to be kind of all said and done. I just hope, I hope and pray we can kind of stay in it, because it's going to be so difficult. Although I say that, have you seen the news that apparently 4 of the players have been investigated for suspensions? Have you seen this?
Yeah, and Atletico Madrid have actually sent like video footage to I think FIFA or UEFA, trying to get them suspended for the Arsenal game. So, and obviously like Mbappe and Vinny Jr. are 2 of them. So I don't know.
And obviously their main man, who we know very well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone's going to worry if he's not playing. You know, doing his best spinning top impression. No, I mean, I can't see any of them like being out. I'll be honest. Real Madrid have got a knack. I mean, we saw it with the match against Atleti. They've got a knack of getting what they want when they want. Unfortunately, we don't really have that. We've got it kind of the opposite, haven't we? We're just, our luck is just, like, I think this season as a whole, the narrative for me anyway has been that our luck is just never in. Yeah, I think you have to be lucky along the way to win the Premiership. You have to be a very good team, obviously, but in terms of like decisions, injuries, even down to like the fixtures themselves and the schedule and how it pans out for you, and when you have your Champions League football matches and groups for that on top of it, can you rest players at certain times? We never seem to get like the rub of the green. We had the occasional one where you're like, oh yeah, actually went away, but it's just all the time. Like, look at our injuries this season. I think we could have genuinely coped, and we have coped pretty well, I would say, with the injuries we've had, but having like the amount of injuries in certain clusters of positions is unbelievable. To kind of like lose both of our strikers and then like the left back situation that we had, and I remember one game we had like Partey at right back. Ironically, we've got Fulham coming up. I think Partey was right back for that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So like we just. Our luck is just dreadful. It's horrendous.
It has been bad. I mean, even like all the way back to like Jesus getting injured when he came in. Like I was watching clips of Jesus when he came in, and I was like doing some analysis, and I was just looking like, if we just had him like at what we expect him to be like when he signed, we actually, I think, would have been fine. I think this project would have given us something else, and I think we would be in a better position to have to sign a striker in the summer. But unfortunately, yeah, this season's been the worst. Like the injuries have been poor. I mean, the red cards I do think is kind of unlucky because I think the decisions have gone against us. And I do think that like even when our draws, like people always talk about Arteta not being great in cup competitions, which is fair, he isn't. But like our draws in some of these FA Cup games and Carabao Cup over the last couple of years have been crazy. We've played Liverpool last year, round 3, United round 3 this year. We played City in round 4 last year in the Carabao, I think, and then City in the FA, I think the year before that.
Mhm.
Like we've actually played like some incredible teams early on where it's just like at that period of time, that month where we played them, we're not looking that great. And then after that, like with that Liverpool game, we like lost in the cup. We shouldn't have lost. And then we were amazing for like 5 months after that. And it's like, well, if we were just good that 1 month, we would have actually probably won the FA Cup. But
Yeah.
it's just like, it's just annoying, isn't it?
I mean, you look at like last season. Was it last season? The lines being drawn. Or was that the season before? Was that not? I can't
Well,
think
yeah,
now. Actually,
it might have been last
was it?
season, yeah, with
Was it the
the
one before?
Brentford game.
But like, even if you like look at say the Trossard miss, where he's like a toe away. That's the difference between winning the league and not. It's
Yeah,
I just feel like any other team, like for City, that would happen.
that happens.
They
Yeah.
they have a player who's like 2 inches taller than Trossard, um, but we just it's always that way with us. But in terms of like good fortune, I mean, what are your views on this, mate? Because words going round, Saka could return. So they're saying essentially. Well, let me just read it for you, mate. So the winger has been absent and tearing his hamstring against Crystal Palace. It's been a long wait, but he's been stepping up his work on the ball during the international break, and the hope is that he will be deemed fit enough to be named in the squad against Fulham. I mean, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because we kind of sit here on YouTube making judgments, and then you've got these guys who are actually like medical experts who are more or less going to have the final say. What do you think? Do we actually bring him back? I'm not saying start him, get him play 90 minutes, but yeah, what are your general views?
Yeah, it's a weird situation. Like, I made a video actually today about this, and I said in the video that like I've seen a lot of people online say that, well, Arteta's mismanaging the team if he puts him in the squad too early. But realistically, we don't know the context of the situation. We don't know like the ins and outs of how fit Saka actually is. Is he willing to play? Is he able to play? And obviously, they are people that have more like expertise than us that will probably make better judgments. Now, I do think there is a certain level of Arsenal. I mean, I think I read an article as well earlier, and they were saying that basically the aim is for that Real Madrid game. I think the aim is for him to play around 50 or 60% of like the Real Madrid first game, and then to be fit and starting for the Bernabeu away game in middle of April. So I do think if that's the aim, then you've got to give him some minutes to get some sharpness up. But I wouldn't expect him to be pushed even against Fulham if we're like struggling to score, which will probably happen to be honest. And if it's later on in the game, like is it worth to risk Saka? I don't know about that. And obviously, if Saka comes into the team, that's going to have a bit of a ripple effect. But obviously, I think right now is exactly what we need. I think a lot of the players, especially in that forward line, I don't know. It's just gonna be so weird to see us without Havertz, but with Saka because we haven't really seen that in such
Yeah.
a long time. So that's going to be certainly very interesting to see. But I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad that he's playing. Um, and I think that we should it's touch and go because obviously you don't want him to get a long-term injury for next season where that is more important. But the Real Madrid game is basically everything right now to me, I think.
Yeah, and that's the end goal, isn't it? Because we haven't got anything else to play for. I mean, brutally, honestly. I mean, I brought up these stats. Looking at it, Saka, Salah, and Yamal are tied for creating the most big chances in Europe's top 5 leagues this season, and he's been out for for ages now. It's mad, like the kind of efficiency that he shows now. And he plays such a different type of game to the other two wingers that it mentioned there. Like Salah and Yamal do not have the responsibility he does, especially defensively. I mean, you would be able to argue about the corners being, a factor in this, but he is just so effective. And it's really interesting. Before he got that injury, he was starting to provide so many more opportunities from the widest areas. So he's not even coming central like the other two kind of do a lot of the time. Like Salah is given that license to not come back, stay in central zones, get close to goal, whereas Saka doesn't. And just the consistency of his delivery is unbelievable. It's more or less unrivaled in world football right now. And you look at those last 5 games without him. So obviously we had the win against Leicester, which wasn't the most convincing win. Lose against West Ham, draws against Nottingham Forest and then United, and then a win again in a pretty. I don't want to say it was a drab affair. I'm not gonna dress it up too much. I mean, you probably saw me on the instant reaction. I had to kind of wake myself up for that one, but we just haven't been convincing without him. And
Yeah.
I think, like you say, that Real Madrid game, that's our final. We can't. I think the first game, maybe if you could get him to play 45 minutes, like maybe work him up to that would be, relatively sensible. But that second leg, we have got to be in the tie, and we need him available for me anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you what would you expect then? So we got Fulham next. How do you manage his minutes up to that game? What would you do?
Honestly, I think there's a certain level of. I feel like he might need to be protected a little bit. I feel like I said, I'm not really too into the league. I think it's kind of over, but I still think there's a lot of games where we can pick up points, even not at our best. I don't think Fulham's one of them, unfortunately. I think Marco Silva is a very good mid-block defensive manager. And I just think, yet again, I think they're going to be a pain in the ass for us because they always are. And I just think, I don't know, I just can't see Saka really doing too much in that game, especially with the fact they're just going to be sitting quite deeper. And I think the main question is really around the whole Saka thing is how good is he actually going to be now he's back? Is he going to be half as good as he was before he got injured, where he was playing at some Ballon d'Or level, I think? Or is he going to be not as good? A lot of people have said, I spoke to a lot of people and they've been well, I don't think he'll be that good because obviously it's a long-term injury and he's never really had a long-term injury in his career like this. So it is going to be a major different period for him. But he isn't someone that primarily relies on power. He doesn't rely on, using a lot of pace, getting in behind. He can, but it's not really his main game. He's a very stop-start winger. He assesses things and waits a little bit. So I do think that will help him a bit. I don't think he's going to rely on some of the physical attributes that might not be there when he's come back. And he might be a bit worried going for a tackle, which is fine with Saka. But obviously there's going to be a level where he decreases. But at the moment, we played Martinelli on the right wing against Chelsea. And I mean, I don't think he had the worst game. I think he was actually all right. But obviously in that final third, he is not really effective. So even Saka just being able to finish better than everyone or cross better than everyone will just be a massive boost for the team, I think.
Yeah, I think even, it's this is going to be taken completely out of context when I say this. His delivery from corners, I'm not suggesting we just have him on for corners, but it's just such a big weapon. And you can see it every time Declan Rice comes up for a left-sided corner and then a swinging corner. There's an air of expectation from the crowd. I think even from the players know, if you imagine at Gabriel coming from centre back, he's coming up, he knows that delivery 9 times out of 10 is going to be on a sixpence. It's going to be exactly where they have suggested it should go. So all of the tactics from the over will come off. Whereas I think sometimes when we've had a mix, I've seen Wineri take some from the right hand side, I've seen Odegaard take some. And there must be nothing worse than as a centre-back coming all the way up the pitch and then it doesn't beat the first man or something.
Yeah.
It must be so irritating, demoralising. So then there's that kind of repeat effect of the next set piece, is it going to be another one of those? Where at least with Saka, like you say, you know that delivery is going to be on point. And it's interesting, actually. I think you just mentioned Martinelli. For me, on that Chelsea game, I think sometimes he gets kind of unjust slating. I'll put it that way. He's not the Martinelli of 2 years ago. However, Bukayo Saka has had problems with Cucurella in the past, and I think it was almost like a wise decision of who can we put up against Cucurella that will cause him problems. And I think Martinelli, Winery and Trossard. Martinelli gives you like a different kind of physical element. And actually, like, his deliveries weren't too bad. There were a couple of crosses. Like, if you remember, there was the one, he kind of got the defense kind of headed it out. It came out to Trossard, and then his like final like touch wasn't the best. His ball striking, and then almost like an identical chance happened again. And you want those kind of box crashes coming in, those late runs, and we didn't seem to have those. So to be fair to Martinelli, I think in that game it wasn't, it wasn't the worst choice, but yeah, against Fulham, a mid block, I don't. It's going to be a long day at the office, let's be honest. It just is, isn't it? It's our kryptonite. And, I hate those games against Villa, Fulham, Newcastle. It's the never-ending story of Arsenal versus mid-blocks.
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? I mean, I do agree with you with the Martinelli thing. I think it's one of them instances again where like people don't get the credit that they deserve because they're not scoring or they're not technically getting assists on paper. But like they are still very effective. Like it's the whole thing I've had with Havertz the whole time. Like he can't shoot, bless him, but he is so good at so many other things.
That was so like, bless him.
He can't, bless him. Like he just can't. And I love Havertz, one of my favorite players, but it's like a certain level where I'm like, he is still very effective for the team, but I understand like it's frustrating because he can't score. But I still like it's the same with Martinelli. Like even the corner goal we scored against Chelsea, he does really well to win it. I think he goes past Cucurella in that moment, gets the corner for us, and it's like that's on his weaker side as well. And I'm like, I still saw enough in that game where I'm like, yes, that's good work, Martinelli. But it's just in front of goal, he's awful. Like when they pass the ball out to him, Sanchez, and he kicks it at him, and then even in the United game, I know he was offside, but it was like that rebound shot, and he's like 4 yards out, and he puts over the bar, and you're like, you just got to be better from them places, really.
Do you think, like, I mean, we're kind of going away from the Saka topic, but do you think Martinelli's future might lie on that right hand side? Because since the Saka injury, I mean, I would suggest most of his appearances have been on the right hand side. I know he got an injury himself and he was absent, but a lot of those have been on the right hand side. I look at Winery and I wonder if his future lies more of as a 10.
Yeah.
Saka is, let's be honest, he's a shoe-in. Once he's fully fit, he will take that right-sided berth. And I do wonder if maybe Arteta's kind of looking at it and thinking to himself, long term, do we bring in a left winger? I mean, Nico Williams seems to be the one that keeps getting mentioned. So is it a case of Martinelli starts looking as a right-sided backup when he kind of starts to move inside? Maybe Odegaard goes to like a left 8 role. I mean, or does Martinelli eventually go back to left, or does he just kind of get thrown out of the club and then and we're just going, you know what? Let's just get rid of him. Let's get rid of him and Trossard. Let's restart the whole project. Like where does his future lie? Like, just say like next year, what do you think happens with him?
I actually think Martinelli is one of the most interesting players in our squad for next year because there's been reports that like we might sell one of the players that we don't really want to if we have to. And I do think Martinelli, out of any of them players, is probably the one that we'd be willing to get rid of if a good offer came in. And I do think that probably Trossard will leave in the summer, I would have to think. I think if we are going to sign a Nico Williams or even an Antoine Semenyo, you can't really have all these like left winger players that are right-footed coming inside. Like I think there needs to be some sort. You can't have Trossard, Martinelli, and Nico Williams all trying to play in the same position. But I think Martinelli next season he might just have to be a backup in both the wing positions and potentially a striker backup as well, which I still want Arsenal to try in the next coming games. I think that is what we need to do because especially with someone like Saka in the team and Trossard in the team, it will just help him a lot more. They are fast enough to get in behind to help him. And it just gives us that sort of central area. I feel like he is stronger than Trossard in like, definitely in like, I don't know, like definitely when there's contact made in a man-to-man. I think Trossard's better at maybe creating separation, but I do think Trossard is less physical. And I think when we played against Leicester, we kept trying to go over the top in the middle for Trossard,
Yeah.
and he was offside all the time. It's like, no, and he's not even that fast either. So I just think, yeah, Martinelli at I think for the rest of this season, he should be our striker option, to be honest. And maybe you take that and see what happens in the summer. I do think if Arsenal get a 50 mil offer for him, I think he's gone, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which is, it is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, I think Martinelli's one of them players that is quite willing to be on the bench. He's gone on about how much he loves Arsenal. He wants to stay at the club. He wants to win things here. And I don't think he seems to be that player right now that wants to force a move compared to some other players like Trossard, for instance. If he ain't playing, he doesn't want to be here. So that's fair enough. But yeah, I think, I don't know, Martinelli's a very interesting player, I think, out of everyone.
It's interesting as well because they're kind of, both of them are used like as touchline wingers. There's a lot of defensive work, and I know a lot of the reason we're so successful is because out of possession we are probably, arguably in the top 3 in world football. I don't think there's many teams defensively that are as good as us. I mean, in terms of like just pure defensive units, Inter, Atleti. I mean, Liverpool, in their own way, I mean, they're slightly different. I think if you're looking individually, but their system allows them to be got at a lot easier than we are. But I just look at Trossard and I think you're not really a touchline winger. You don't really have pace to, beat a man in that respect. He's much better for me in central areas. Even as a false 9, I think quite a lot of the time that suits his game a lot more, depending on like the game state. Martinelli, 2 years ago when we used him better in transition, and again, like I think sometimes his choice of runs seemed to be better that year, but I just look sometimes and I think neither of them really suit our system down to the ground. Like, I mean, I wasn't going to go into it, but I've got a little slide here, mate. Let's go to it. Because Big Berta, right? We've had Semenyo, Nico Williams, Lookman, Barcola. Who else has there been? I'm sure there's another I'm missing. For you, like, what does your list go? If you're looking at left wingers, regardless of kind of money, those mentioned, like, who would you go for? And just kind of like, little tier list.
Yeah, I'm like I'm probably like one of the worst people when it comes to transfers because I do get like that sort of hype around players as well. And there's definitely a certain aspect of like, I mean, I have watched a lot of these players like over the last couple of years because obviously Arsenal were never linked to anyone randomly. It's like 4 years, so we know who we want to get like 3 years in advance. But I remember like obviously Antoine Semenyo has been someone that I have loved. I think he's incredible. I think he's such a talented player. I've loved him for over a year and a half. I signed him on my Football Manager save like 4 years ago, and since then, when he was at Bristol, I loved him. And I just think this season, especially, he's come on so well. Like the directness of him, how big he is, how like just a power runner he is, I think would really help. And he can play on either wing, and that's one of the major things for me. It's like I know Barcola is currently playing on the right for PSG because Creature has come in on that left, which is a bit weird to me because I think Barcola is way better on the left. But obviously that he has played on the right recently. But obviously Nico Williams and Semenyo are both like players that can play on both sides, which make him a lot like I just think are much more appealing because we do need to think of ways to bench or like rest Saka in the future because we can't really have what has happened this season happen again. But to me, Antoine Semenyo is still the one I want the most. I think for price value wise, I don't think Bournemouth will ask for too much, 40 to 50 mil. I think his wages would be a lot less than Nico Williams, which obviously is the big thing everyone's like talking about. And I do think that like he could be the great guy, but I see a lot of people like discredit Nico Williams a little bit. And I've been doing a lot more research on him over the last couple of months, like specifically because I wanted to like understand what's going wrong because he hasn't had a great season up until the last about 6 weeks. He's been really good, but before that, he was like kind of poor. But for like Bilbao, he is like a progressor. He has to pick the ball up from really deep positions and run. And I don't think Arsenal will make him do that. Like Arsenal don't struggle with progression. Like we are amazing at progression. It's just when we get to that final third, their problems arise. And we have Odegaard, who is probably going to be in the team somewhat. Waneri, obviously Zubamendi or like Bryce. I feel like the progression there is good enough where we don't need Williams to come back and help all the time. So I do think that like Williams for Arsenal would actually be great, because I do think if you get him into them final third areas in space with two players on him, I just think he is so effective. He can go on the outside, the inside, and he's just such a good dribbler. And I do think Arsenal miss a power runner, a power dribbler, because unfortunately that has been my major critique of Martinelli over the last year and a half, is that we get him into them spaces, and okay, yeah, he isn't inside like he used to be a little bit, but his dribbling is awful. Like he puts his head down. I just don't like how he dribbles like at all. I just think it's very negative, and it's kind of fell off a cliff a little bit, I think. And even Trossard, who's not a quick player, has proven this season that he's a relatively okay dribbler. I think there's been moments where he's done pretty good dribbling, even on the wing where he's not probably the best. And Martinelli just isn't that player. And I do think Williams. I think tactically, Williams probably fits the best. I think Semenyo for the price is probably way more worth it with the wages. But I think either one of them two is great. I know a lot of people like Barcola, and I think Barcola is incredible. Yet again, that like individual player in space that can provide something. And he does work hard defensively. Like Barcola does work hard defensively. Nico Williams has worked hard defensively as well for Bilbao. So it's not like these guys are going to be not wanting to run back. They will run back and help. They're willing to do that a little bit. But I do think that, like, I don't know, Barcola to me is just not gettable, because I thought when Creature joined PSG, it's like, oh, yeah, he'll come in. But they've moved him to the right now, and I just don't think that's possible, personally.
Yeah, the project seems to have completely changed in terms of like the views of players. I think if we were talking like 2-3 years ago, Barcola would be gone. He just would. It would be very similar to Xavi Simons and the way that he was kind of treated. And I just think, it would have been so much easier for Arsenal to come in. But I think PSG, whether they want to kind of keep him on that right side or not, they've been very clever, because if you do want to get him out, it's going to cost a lot of money. And it's, if I wish Arsenal sometimes were better at this, at playing players, even though we know we don't eventually want them. I think sometimes we kind of drag their values down because we don't play them. And I understand it from one point of view, because you'd say, well, if it's, they're not in the manager's plans, then why are you bothering? But at the same time, we're the same kind of club that constantly worry about money and values of players. Like we're just talking there. You're saying about how Semenyo value for money, but we're a huge club. We are a huge club.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have this kind of worry sometimes that we do. I thought it was really interesting. There was something I think it was on the overlap, and someone said no, it wasn't on the overlap, maybe it was TalkSport, because Keown was on there, and they said, oh, who do you think is most likely to win the Premier League next? Is it Arteta or Pep? And there are quite a few different like ex-players there, and essentially they all said Arteta, but they said, but Pep will win it next. And when they kind of pressed on why, it was because Pep will get the money to be able to reinvest and, reshape his squad essentially. Whereas we know what it's like, like look at January. We could have maybe gone, arguably we could have gone for one or two players and maybe got over the line, but we didn't.
Yeah.
And it's always that same kind of story with us. I think, it would just be so nice to be able to just go and get whoever Arteta wants, whoever the recruitment want. But I will say this, with Berta coming in, eventually, I'm sure by July they will announce this. I'm hoping that it's kind of like in his agreement for his contract that this is how much I get to spend. This is like, over 5 years, this is what we're expecting to have as our budget each year, that type of thing, because he doesn't strike me as the type of person to kind of come in and keep it ticking over. And he seems like, one, a winner. Two, he has been with some big managers. I mean, Simeone obviously is going to be a pretty difficult guy to work with. And then you look at, so I added this in, like his significant signings over in Madrid. João Felix, 127 million euros. Like, that's a huge amount.
Crazy money.
On a player as well who wasn't like majorly established.
No.
The Julian Alvarez, again, like, we all know how talented he is, but it's not like you're going in and getting a player who has played week in, week out as the focal point of his team. Yeah, like, I mean, we've got some really good signings there. The Rodri one, the Oblak. The Luis Suarez one is really interesting because I think maybe if we do go for like a Nico Williams, or I'll say his name, an Alexander Isak. You knew what I was going to say then, didn't you? I could see the smile.
Oh, no.
If we did, like, genuinely, if we have a director that says, like, we have to go and get this player, I think the signings like a Luis Suarez, those astute, cheap signings could be the difference. That's the only way I can see us getting like a really, really big player. Because, well, I mean, for me, I would guess 130, 140 million would be. I mean, is it more than that? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it depends, like what the market says, really. But I do think that I think for Isak's sake, I think the only teams that can afford to buy him are Arsenal and Liverpool. So we'll have to see what happens with them two teams specifically. I think Bert's transfers here are quite interesting overall because, like, obviously there's a certain level of Simeone does have like almost complete control at that club. They do anything that guy says. So there's certain players here that he would obviously put his note in to get. But I do think like the overpayment specifically for people like João Felix or Julian Alvarez is mostly because Atletico Madrid have to overpay people to like come. And I remember the João Felix one being like specific. Like João Felix was wanted by everyone after he scored like 19 goals for Benfica at like 19. And they had to basically pay that amount of money to get him. And obviously not a great side. And the guy does maybe have a little bit of attitude issues and he doesn't really fit into a lot of systems. But I do find it like, even with what we've heard about Angelo Alberto when he's come in, it's like he wants to buy these players. He wants to buy Bruno from Newcastle. He wants to get this player in. And I do think at least he is a guy that wants to win. So I do think like at least Arsenal can actually like demand things because, like you said, we are a big club. We should be going to Bournemouth realistically and being like, well, we want Semenyo, give him to us. Like, and I know people on the internet are going to be like, well, that's disrespectful, but ultimately that is how it is. There is a list to this. This is how things work, and it's the same sort of like. It's the whole reason why people talk about Isak. Like, Isak is at Newcastle. Newcastle are a massive club, and they've just won the Carabao Cup. Like, fair play to them. But ultimately, if they're not winning the Champions League, if they're not winning the Premier League in 3 years' time, Isak is not at the best club, one of the best clubs in the world, and he is the best striker in the world. Like, he should be at a club that are winning things, or at least like competing at that highest level. And I think that's we've just got to basically this summer. I just want us to put ourselves about and just get anyone.
I'm just trying to look how old he is as well. 99. So yeah, he's 25. I mean, so getting into his prime years as well. I mean, I'll tell you honestly, I was public enemy number one with Newcastle fans a couple of weeks ago because I thought I'll do a quick TikTok video. I don't put many out. I put them kind of out just about, you know, the lineup for the team or a little halftime report. And so it was after his goal in the final. And I just put a video saying, get him to the carpet. You know, he is amazing. Do what you can, Arsenal. And I had thousands of Geordies all commenting, telling me, number one, it would cost 200 million, like, minimum, which I was like, I don't think it would cost that much, but there we go. And also, like, the comments about, why would he go to Arsenal? So I didn't want to reply to everyone, nor did I have the time, to be honest. But I think I said something along the lines of, like, someone said, oh, what have Arsenal won? And I said, well, we've won, I think it was, what have Arsenal won the last 10 years? So I said, you know, multiple FA Cups, a couple community shields. And then I said, what have you won in the last 70 years? I mean, I don't think that really helped matters, maybe, but at the time it seemed like a good response. But like, I started thinking about, like, why would he come? And you look, number one, obviously he was linked with the club before he went to Newcastle. So there were links there. It's quite well known he was in London kind of going around. Do you remember there was the whole thing with people tracking his plane and his car? I think it was as well. But he was roommates with Odegaard. His idol is Thierry Henry. He would probably get paid more by us, like in wages.
Yeah.
He gets to come to London, which is a big thing for footballers. More or less guaranteed Champions League. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why he would come to the club. However, I just can't see it.
Yeah.
This whole thing with an unprecedented summer. We are so good with PR, our club. The Zubimendi deal was the one for me that, like, oh, Arsenal are going to sign Zubimendi, and I went, oh, wait, hang on, what's going on? And it was essentially like, yeah, we might sign him in the summer. We haven't signed anyone in January, so we're going to throw this out and just keep everyone, simmer down, everyone. It's all right. Don't start burning down the Emirates yet. And I just feel that the Isak talk is that another one where it's like, just keep the fans happy, sell them a dream. Which is more likely for you, Isak or Bruno coming?
I think Bruno is more likely, but I don't know. It's a situation where, like, I think they're both unlikely, but for different reasons. Like, I think I'm actually, like, I was so not convinced about Isak coming to Arsenal for months and months and months. And I barely made any videos on it because I was like, no, I don't think it. And then maybe I watched too many different knock videos. Maybe I've been influenced a little bit. But I think
don't
that
listen to that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, too much Isak propaganda coming to Arsenal. But I think, like, Isak would come to Arsenal, but I think we won't do it. I don't think we're going to pay 140 mil for Isak. And I don't think we should. I think we just go and get Šeško. Like, I think it's just a better deal for us, to be honest. And, like, we complain about, like, spending too much money, but, like, Barcola literally joined PSG like last summer for like 35 mil. Like, or the year before that. We could have made that money. We could have bought these players early, and then now they're this good. Like, I think Sesko for 50 to 60 mil makes way more sense to me. And I think Bruno is like I think as a player to leave Newcastle, Bruno's more likely. I think he has more of a chance of leaving because they have Tonali there. They have Miley coming through. They have a pretty decent midfield. Joel Linton's still a main part of it. Willock's there as well. And I do think that, like, they would probably be willing to let him go a little bit more than obviously Isak. And I do think that, like, I think they're like PSR. I don't know everything about, like, the business side to it, but I know that, like, they need to make around 60 mil. And obviously they've got some youngsters that they can throw away again. Like, they threw Yakuba Minte out, and now they need a right winger. And it's like, well, you just threw one out to Brighton because PSR, you could have just kept him. But I do think that, like, they could get rid of him for 50, 60 mil and recoup that money and kind of still be fine with the team because they still want to buy a winger. They still want to buy a fullback. So maybe that would be likely. I just don't think Bruno's likely to join Arsenal because I don't know where he fits in our team. Like, I get that he could play on that left centre mid spot and we could put Rice down to the 6. But I do just think it's wishful thinking. I don't think Arsenal and Arteta are moving Rice to the 6. I think it's evidently clear that that's not the plan. Yeah. And I just can't see it really moving in that way.
To me, it's so disappointing because I 100% agree with you, but I want him in the 6. Like, yeah. I look at certain players and I think, like, what are you best at, essentially? Rice is world class, essentially, if you put it in layman's terms, of winning the ball. He is so good, and in terms of, like, transition, he's a cheat code because he just sweeps everything up. He's always so calm. He's always in the right spaces. He reads the game so well. And then, physically, he's able to cover ground, unlike other players. I understand why we use him in the 8. I mean, he gives us different options at, winning the ball high up the pitch. I would say also maybe on the turn, like, his ability to receive, like, in the first line is, is not the best. So maybe that's part of the reason. But yeah. I also at the same time, I look at the Zubimendi deal and there's something about it that I'm just not keen on. And I don't know whether, like, for me, if Jorginho was leaving and we brought in Zubimendi and we kept Partey, I would be far more kind of confident behind it. My problem is that if Partey and Jorginho leave, or well, essentially if Partey leaves, I don't see how we kind of change the system in the way that Partey does, because Zubamendi is a very different type of player to him, and the ability to break lines isn't quite the same. In terms of like progressive running, it's not quite the same. I mean, he'd be much better at, like, keeping tempo. I think Champions League games, he'd be far better. But I don't know. There's something that I mean, yeah. As I said earlier, I'm a guy who sits on YouTube. I am not paid millions of pounds like Arteta. I mean, he's surrounded by coaches who know far more than me, let alone him himself. There's just something about it that doesn't kind of sit right with me, and maybe I just want more. Maybe I'm just like a, petulant child who's like, well, yeah, let's just get him. Let's get Bruno as well. Give me Barcola and Isaac, and why not throw in Juan Garcia, because we need number two, and
we need a left back.
I was going to say, and I mean, I feel like we missed out on Dorgu, to be fair. Just go and get Kirkes.
Yeah.
And,
I want the Club Brugge guy, to be fair. The Cooper, or so his name is.
Yeah.
I just think he's a cheaper option, and he's a overlapping left back. But like, I agree with you. I feel like the midfield's gonna be short. Like if Partey and Jorginho leave, let's say we sign Severa Nipan, who he's 18 and he's a left centre mid. That's fine. But then our DM options, I guess, is Rice, Zubamendi. Like, they're going to play in a double pivot probably, so they're going to play together. So who's going to come in if like one of them's not fit? I mean, I guess Miles will probably be a midfielder if we buy left back, which is what I kind of predict.
Yeah,
maybe, but that's still not really enough, is it? This season, we've been pretty fortunate, at least in midfield, I'd say, in defensive injuries. But like before, Partey was out for half the season last year, and we really struggled with like playing just Jorginho, who was really good in that period. Who I love Jorginho, but with Rice. So we do need more. So that's why when the Bruno links came in, I was like, I can see Arsenal making another midfield signing. I don't think it's going to be like a 60 mil signing, but I think we should make another one, because like that team is going to be undercut. And I think the biggest question with the whole Zubamendi thing is like, what happens to Odegaard? Like, is he going to be centrally more? Is he actually going to go and roam a little bit? Is he actually going to be deeper and progress still, where he's actually good? Or is he just going to be in that final third? Because if he is going to do that, then I think that Waneri, most likely, by the end of next season, I think should be starting, really, if that's the plan.
Yeah, and the thing I love about Waneri is that he's not like shoot on sight, but he definitely has a forward momentum. Like the way he is wired is not retain possession. It's make a killer pass, make those half-space crosses, shoot when we've actually have even like a half chance. I always remember him coming on at Leicester and immediately picks up the ball and shoots. And it's just, sometimes I just think maybe Odegaard, I think he does have more in him. He showed 2 years ago, like he had an unbelievable season in terms of goal scoring. But yeah, I worry as well that it's the knock-on effect of everything. These signings, sometimes we look at them in isolation, but the bigger picture is what we should be looking at. I think Sesko, big picture is that he solves a lot of our problems, especially ball striking. Like he scores every type of goal. And I think in transition, like we win the ball in high areas, but a lot of the time we don't really do anything with it. And it's so frustrating, as I feel that although Sesko won't be like an immediate win player, another 2 years, he is there. Yeah. I mean, we don't lose out on height with him. We don't lose out on strength. He's got youth on his side. There's a lot positive there that we can kind of buy him and then, go get the winger that we want. So I don't know. Maybe next week we could just go through and we'll both kind of come up with a transfer list, our own transfer list, and see what we think.
Yeah, sounds good.
I mean, before we kind of finish up, mate, because what we've been running here now, about 50 minutes. We've been chatting away, haven't we? Look at that. So we have got Fulham coming up. I want to get your thoughts. So this is from the last time we played. So there's our teams. I mean, we did have Party at right back. Kivior. Oh my god, look at that back four. That's
What a
horrendous.
team.
Kivior and Party in there. Jorginho. Oh my god, yeah, Jorginho was in there as well, wasn't he? But ironically, like we dominated. It was just the same old story, like Groundhog Day, that mid block. I've put here the head-to-head streaks as well. So, I mean, we have got like a pretty good record, all being considered, against them. Like, what do you think we should kind of line up with? And I'm going to say Saka for 90 minutes. Yeah, we're putting him in.
That'd be nice. Havertz, so you can bring him back. I'm sure it'll be all right.
Yeah, it'd be fine. Yeah, just go through kind of what your team would be like starting, because I think we both agree if Saka is fit, you give him like what 10 minutes, something like
Yeah.
that.
Depends, I guess, like game state a lot, but even then,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
it's like, do we risk him? Like, I don't know. It depends. Like, it's like drawing 1-1 at home to Fulham and winning 2-1 actually going to make that much of a difference for our season? Like, probably not. So maybe you don't even do that. I know we're going to play Marino up front, and it's going to make me so sad. Like, I used to, I felt I was like smug about the whole Marino thing, because when Havertz got injured, I made a video being like, Marino should be our striker, because I think like he's basically Havertz but a little worse, because he can head a ball. And then I didn't actually expect us to play him up front. And he
Didn't
came
you
on
say?
against
Hang
Leicester
on,
and
sorry to
finished.
cut you off, Reese. Didn't you just say earlier that Havertz is one of your favourite players? And I'm pretty sure in this same episode you've said, "Bless him, he can't shoot," and you've just said Marino's essentially the same because he can head a ball.
No, but like, yeah, well, basically that. I mean, obviously Havertz is so much off the ball, but like on the
Okay,
ball,
all right, yeah.
on the ball. I mean, yeah, like it is that sort of thing. Like I think that I always wanted Marino to be up front, and it happened, and I was really smug about it. And then we played the Leicester game, and I was happy. And then after that Leicester game, I was like, no, why is he starting up front? Like I think it should be like a bench option. Like we bring him on, and then now like Martinelli's back and Saka's now coming back, we cannot afford to just continually play Marino up front. Like in a game like this as well, where like they're just going to be so compact. Like having one guy in the box that just heads the ball is not going to be enough against their whole team. Like we need more. We runners in behind really, but he isn't going to do that unfortunately. So I just like realistically play Martinelli up front, play Wineri up front if you have to. You know anything, and then the other one can play on the right to start. In my opinion, like I know the physicality for Wineri might be bit touch and go, and I know that he probably won't want to play. I don't think Wineri will play this game because of that physicality. I think that's why he's kind of like shone away from him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think like, yeah, don't play. I just don't want to see Marino up front. And I get it, he is strong and he is going to be up against the defense, but he's just not enough for me in that area consistently. And I just think, yeah, I don't know, like the rest of the team, I guess, is pretty self-explanatory. I think Ben White, I said this to my dad the other day, and he was like, do you think Ben White should start in like soon? And I was like, I don't know if Ben White's going to get much game time this season, because like he is better against lower blocks. So maybe in a game like this, that might help. But most of the teams that we're going to play against are probably going to come for us a little bit more, I would have to say. Maybe not the Emirates, to be honest, but maybe in general. So Timber has been on some incredible form recently, especially. I think I've been very I like Timber's one of my favorite players. I think this season he's been top 3 for Arsenal, maybe top 4 if you like include Saka, who's not been there for ages. But I do think that Timber, like going forward at least, has been quite like poor, not poor, but he's a little bit conservative, I think, with his passing and his movements throughout the last like 4 to 5 months. But in the last like 5 to 6 weeks, we've really started to see him ramp up their movements a lot better in the forward areas, and it's been much better for us. I think we've looked even much more creative down that right hand side. I think the wingers in front of him look a lot better, and he's actually like starting to help people a little bit more. So I just don't think on this form that Timber's on, you just drop him at all. And like the same with Calafiori, like on the left side, like I love his movements. I'm like a Calafiori defender compared to a lot of people, and a lot of people. I think it's more the fact that we didn't sign anyone, so people are critical of the players we did sign, not really being his fault. And obviously his injuries are annoying. He's injured now. He's out for I think 2 weeks. I think he'll be back for the Real Madrid game.
Yeah, it should be.
But yeah, like it's just like I don't know. Everyone's like, well, Mars has come through and like he looks better, but they are different players. Like I still think Calafiori is better in attacking areas. I think he creates more chaos at least, and I do think Arsenal need players that create more chaos. I think the problem with Calafiori is he's a player that creates chaos, but no one else in the team does. So he just kind of like does this like weird stuff and will move into weird positions, but then everyone else will not move, and it's like we're very rigid. And I think when you sign maybe like a Nico Williams, maybe like a striker that actually moves the defense back, he might be more effective. But obviously, like, yeah, Miles at the moment has been incredible. His debut for England, I mean, Tuchel played him in like such a great, like in that left half space role. He knows how good it is for him. And I think in that game, well, in the England game was a great example of Rice being in a six next to Miles O'Skelly coming
Yeah.
inside, and that worked really well in that game. So maybe that's something we look at. I think, but we just need better performances from Odegaard. I think where I watched a video. I was watching a tweet from like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and it was like Odegaard in zone 14 is incredible. And it was literally just every goal he scores from outside the box, it was just smashing them in. That season where he scored 15, which is like the highest non-penalty goals by a midfielder in Premier League history. And then I was literally watching a compilation of his shots from this season, and I was like, what has happened? Like, that is not even like, that's not even a tactical thing. That is just a pure like drop off in performance where I don't really know what Arteta can do in that situation. So we just need him to step up a little bit more, I think. And I think, yeah, I think that's basically it, really.
Yeah, I think like you saying about Timber, for me, he might be the most important player. Him, I mean, Saliba as well in terms of against Real Madrid. I
Yeah,
think you have to keep playing him. Like I love Ben White and his ability on the overlap, his crossing as well. He's so good. However, I think Timber is so important in locking up like Vinicius, and um, I think for that first leg, you just have to keep it as kind of tight as possible. So kind of that long term vision, well, medium term vision, I guess you'd say, but you just have to keep him on form. Keep playing Ben White at the end of games. Hopefully, get to a game state where you can kind of bring Ben White in, and then so they're both fit. So if we were in the kind of, I would say, relatively fortunate position of being, within a goal of beating, or drawing with Real Madrid, then you can bring Ben White in at that kind of game state and he gives you something completely different. But I think we really are going to have to be so defensively sure. And Timber's like a huge part of that. He really is. He's a massive part. I don't think there's many better one-on-one defenders in wide spaces as him, like possibly in world football now. I said
yeah,
maybe Gordon is the only player that's really given him a truly tough time. I can't really think of anyone else that's, really had the better of him. Is there anyone?
yeah. No,
And
I
even saying that,
think
I think Gordon's kind of got himself in spaces to get, like the goal that he scored against us. It wasn't like Gordon was like running him ragged. It was
yeah,
because am I right in thinking it came from their right side and it came right across goal, didn't it?
yeah,
I could be
yeah.
completely wrong. So I mean, even then, he's not having a particularly poor performance.
No, I'd say I
Um,
think Timber is like the best one-on-one defender we've had at the Emirates for a very long time,
mm,
especially
yeah,
out wide, like you said.
yeah. I think the only players I can think of, like Gabriel, I mean,
Yeah,
and including wide spaces, he's fantastic.
yeah.
Tommy Asu, although he's never
Oh,
available,
I
so I don't think
love
you can.
Tommy Asu, but he's never gonna see him
Um,
again.
and don't say that. Don't say. And I'm trying to think anyone else. Bakary Sanya. I mean, he was
Sanya was
in
decent.
wide areas. I mean, he was pretty good. Yeah, you're going to struggle to find anyone as good as Timber. So let's kind of run through the team then for the next match. David Raya in goal, or you put Neto in?
I don't think I'm going to put Neto in, to be honest. I don't know why, but not this game. Maybe next one. Real Madrid. That's when we put
Oh
Neto
my god! After his last arm, when he came tearing out and then tried to handle the ball outside the area. I don't think I've screamed at a goalkeeper so hard. Like, oh my God, that was horrendous.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know.
so
That.
we're going
That's
Raya in
awful.
goal. We'll go Raya in goal. Timber right back. The same centre backs. I think we're going to have to play Miles at left back, aren't we? Because Calafiori's injured.
Unless we want to play Zinchenko or Tierney. Zinchenko, the midfielder, and the winger Tierney. God.
That's mad, isn't it?
All our left backs are like everywhere else.
Yeah. Did we have? Am I right in thinking? Hang on, against Chelsea, I think we had Kivior. Was Kivior on the pitch? I can't remember if he was. I think Kivior had come on, and we had Zinchenko, Tierney, because Tierney was on the wing. Calafiori. Was Miles on as well? Did we have five left backs?
Against PSV we did, yeah, in the second leg.
It's PSV. Yeah, not Chelsea. Sorry,
yeah, because Miles like came into midfield at that point. He's playing like central midfield.
Yeah.
That was definitely a time.
But doesn't that say it all about our squad and the balance of our squad?
We're talking about buying another left back.
Yeah. Oh,
so many.
I mean, it's so ironic, isn't it? You go through all these left backs. Like, I remember Tierney coming in and thinking he could be the captain of the club one day. I mean, I think at the same time, maybe that says a lot about where we were at the time. Zinchenko came in, completely different type of left back. We moved away from him. Then we had Calafiori, Timber playing left back at certain times, Tomiyasu playing left back at certain times.
Yeah,
Kivior had a run in the team, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, Miles Lewis-Skelly, a centre midfielder, ends up as our starting. It's mad, isn't it? Mad how football goes.
We signed all the left backs, and then we just get one come through the academy. He's probably going to play a midfielder already, and now he's playing for England. So
yeah, and incredibly well. Like you could almost argue that Tuchel, like, kind of. I mean, I won't say like he planned around Miles Lewis-Skelly, but he was definitely a big part of the thinking. Because I don't think they could have played a similar system without him. I don't think
the only other left back England really have that is in like quotation for it is Lewis Hall, who's like a traditional left back. So I don't really know. They're not going to be able to play the same system with Lewis Hall. So I mean, Miles might be playing in the Euros at this rate.
Yeah.
On the World Cup, sorry.
I mean, incredible talent. Midfield, we going what? Partey, Rice, Odegaard, the usual three.
I am a bit of a Partey hater, to be honest, and I actually prefer Jorginho, but I think
against the mid block.
I just think like they're not going to move. I don't think they might. I don't know. Fulham aren't. Yeah, I guess they are quite a quick counter-attacking side. I don't know. I just don't in my head think they are, but I guess they are. But I just see them as quite a wasteful team on the counter. So I just think like you could probably put Jorginho in there and be fine, and he might offer a bit more. But I guess he is like a worse version of Partey.
It's funny because I hated the Jorginho signing originally. Like I will admit, I despised it. It was another Chelsea player. It was he's kind of almost like the opposite of what I like in a midfielder. He's very, like in terms of like physicality. I'm just a typical British bloke. Like, give me a big midfielder. I want a Patrick Vieira. That's what I want. And he's just not that, is he? But he's really won me over. Like some of his performances, even when he played as an 8, I loved it. He was so good. But I'm gonna go against you here. I want Partey. Yeah, sorry, mate.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. Partey will probably start. To be fair, I do think Partey is good. To be fair, I do like Partey. To me, is a player we will have to talk about him in another episode. But like he is like a weird player. I think there is so much like people don't know if he's had a good season or not. And I think that's I see people say he's been our best player. I see people say he's been our worst player. I think out of anyone, that's probably like the one player that is like completely up in the air.
Yeah. Well, if you were rating his season, kind of like grading, like, A, B, C, what would you give him? Because for me, I give him a B. I just look at his
Yeah,
season. I think he's had some really good individual performances earlier on in the season. He's had some howlers of mistakes. Like it grates with me sometimes when he drops in between the centre backs and doesn't put. You know exactly what I mean. Like he
yeah,
just. ah, I'm begging him to move and step forward in defence, and he won't. Um, but at the same time, I feel that we shouldn't be in a position where Partey is still our six. That's
yeah,
how I feel about the whole thing. We should have last year bought. Maybe Marino was the mistake. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but in terms of like, we could have bought a starting 8 and dropped Rice into the 6, or bought someone better as the 6. I mean, easier said than done. I'm playing Football Manager in my head. But yeah, maybe Partey shouldn't be the starter now. He should be our kind of plan B. And
yeah. I do think like Pie's a weird player because he does definitely take risks, like, and a lot of our players don't. So
mm,
I always will prioritize a player that does take risks. I think it's important. But like he takes risks sometimes that I just like, what are you doing? But like the problem with Partey is that like when you watch a game of him 90 minutes and you just watch him, there'll be moments where he'll pass the ball to like a winger on the other team and they'll go through and almost score. But then there'll also be 5 minutes later where he picks the ball up, goes past 2 players and puts us through. But because we didn't score, people don't really look at that. And because we didn't concede, people don't look at the other one.
yeah,
So it's just like, it's so hard to like judge it, I think. I think in every game, he is just like good and bad. He's on and off, even in within like 20 minutes of each other. And it's just painful. I feel bad for him when he's been putting right back. That is not his fault. Like
yeah,
he is awful there, but that is not on him at the end of the day. And I think in some of the big games, he has really stepped up. Like that City game at the Emirates, he was incredible in.
he's so good,
And even against
so
like
good.
even when we play the big teams, he usually does step up. It's just when we play like smaller teams that he seems to like struggle a bit. But I don't know. I give him like a B minus, a B. I think it's been a he's definitely he's not been injured, so for that alone, I think he deserves a bit higher rating. Like he's it's done well to stay
That
fit.
is a low bar, isn't it? It's
Well, yeah,
essentially like the Tomiyasu litmus test. Like, have you managed to play more than 7 minutes this
yeah.
season?
7 minutes he got injured.
Congratulations.
I literally was looking at Tomiyasu's stats and I was like, yeah, so he did play against Southampton, right? And I looked at it 7 minutes and I was like, he literally got injured in 7 minutes. And that we never seen it. I was like, how I feel bad for him, but that is just incredible. That is really, really unfortunate.
Do you know what? I'd love to do an episode where we just look at what could have been if Tomiyasu was fit, and we just look
Yeah.
at all of the games where we've kind of missed him and what could have happened. Because I genuinely think that you look at back when we had Rob Holding as centre back. If we just had Tomiyasu, like I'm not, he is not a
Yeah.
world beater, but I think we could have just got a couple more points. But there
And
we
it's
go.
so annoying because Tomiyasu is like, out of any of the, I always kind of criticize Arsenal a bit about squad player signings. I think a lot of our bench is not good enough to come on, other than like Jorginho and Trossard. I think are the exceptions to
Mm-hmm.
that. But he has been that guy. We spent 16 mil on him. He's a good centre back. He's a great right back, and he's a very good left back, even though he's right footed for some reason. Like he's done a great job for us. And like they got thrown out of Bologna. They didn't even want him, and we took him up. And it's like that. I want us to make Arsenal to make more signings like that. But
Yeah.
now he's never fit. I feel like we're going to shy away from it a little bit.
I also love that Tottenham were going in for him, and then we just kind of went, nah, actually, we're going to take him. Sorry, boys.
Yeah.
Kind of like big brother, give them a little pat on the head. See you later. We'll take him. Now, and he seems like a really good personality, like the
Yeah.
right type of person to be in your squad. Happy to play anywhere across the back four. Will not make a fuss. I imagine him in training. I imagine he's like an unbelievably good trainer. I know that sounds like a very like wishy-washy thing, but do you know what I mean? Like a consummate professional. Yeah, good guy to have around the club. Right, let's go front three. Who you having? Let's start on the left.
It's got to be Trossard, really, hasn't it? I think I don't know. Trossard's a weird guy. I think that like mentally, like my dad is like a bit of a Trossard hater. Like he always talks to me about like, well, why does Trossard look like he's like annoyed all the time? And I was like, yeah, I get that. Like he is that sort. He does seem a bit like I mean, even Arteta has said it, that he does like whine a lot, and he like if he's not playing, he will complain and he will get angry. And I was like, I get that, but I kind of like that in a little bit. In some players, I think that's good.
Mhm.
But I think Trossard's actually been good the last couple of months. I think since January, he's really stepped up as being one of our like actually decent wingers or decent forwards. And like, I mean, I don't really think against a mid block he's going to be brilliant, but I don't really think like Marte doesn't deserve to play in front of him. So
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and he's one of those clutch kind of players. I think he just seems to have that moment in him. So there is that argument. I love that the discourse around him starting games. Like
yeah,
it's such an interesting, because for me, I just think he's unfortunately just not quite of the quality that we need. But
yeah,
and
he's a
he's
good
not
like backup.
yeah, and he's not quite the right profile as well. Like I said earlier, he would have been great in the 90s, like late 90s, early 2000s. I could imagine him balling out like alongside like a Letitia or something. Up top,
Please don't,
Marino,
Marino. No, please don't put
Martinelli. Who
please
are we
don't
going
put
for?
Marino. Anyone but Marino, please. I think what he might do is he might play Martinelli up front and he might play Winery on the right, which I is a bit risky. I do
Do you
think it is
reckon he will?
risky.
Because
Yeah, he probably
I feel
won't.
like Arteta just as more or less, he strikes me as someone quite stubborn. Um,
Yeah,
I just could imagine him being like, no, I'm just not playing Martinelli through the middle. I think sometimes, like he's incredibly good in the air as well. People forget
yeah,
how good Martinelli is. Do you like remember the first season he came and
yeah.
he like it was at the League Cup, he scored quite a few headers, Tierney crosses coming in and
In
Martinelli.
the Europa League as well.
Yeah.
I literally spoke about this in my video today. I literally spoke about Marte out front, and I was just I went through all his old like clips of the first 2 seasons at the club when he actually played out front a lot. And there was even like moments where we played a game against Leicester, we were 1-0 away, and he was up front kind of, and Trossard was on the left kind of, but they kept switching in the same game, and they were both running off each other. We would just lift that ball like long into that left channel, and they would like the goal we scored is literally Trossard making the run first, Marte being deeper, and then him making the underlapping run and getting on the end of it and scoring through. And I was just like we could easily do that now. Like I don't
Yeah.
think Marte's lost his pace. I don't think Trossard's lost his like technical ability. Like if anything's going bad, surely that's going to be an option. I get against the mid block though. Like we know what Arteta's like, and he'll just be like, let's try and match up them physically like we always do. So he'll put Marino up front to bully him, and it probably won't work, but I mean, that's what he probably will do. But I want Martinelli. I don't think Martinelli will play up front in this game actually, because I like that mid block thing. But I do think when we play like maybe a Brentford who might try and play a little bit different, I do think he might play Martinelli actually up front in that sort of game. I could see happening a bit more.
Who are you going with then?
Well, I'm going for Martinelli, but
You are going with
I know it will be Marino. I know
I
it'll be
love
Marino.
that. And then out on the right.
Raheem Sterling.
Oh my God.
Maybe he's got one
That
in
is
it.
just. Do you know what I did? I did the thumbnail tonight for the Canon podcast, and I knew they were doing rankings, and Alex, I mean, hate maybe is a strong word, but I'm going to use it. He hates Raz, as he calls him. So I decided for the thumbnail just to put on the A rating, I put Raheem Sterling, and I put a little graffiti crown on him as well, just to wind Alex up. So yeah, he's not in the good books of Alex Moneypenny and the Different Knock. Yeah, it's got to be Wanari, I guess, out on the right, especially if you're playing Martinelli.
I do think if Marino is up front, he'll play Martinelli on the right. I think Winery will be on the bench probably again. And I think it's just a sort of, got to give him some minutes out of the team. I think you need to rest him a little bit. I mean, he is young. I mean, he keeps getting cramp as well. It's been a major thing. He's getting cramp, and it's because he's not used to that minutes really.
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, Trossard out on the left. I would love to see Ethan as a false nine.
Yeah,
I'd love to see how he plays that, and then with Martinelli out on the right, and just allow him to interchange. I think it would be really interesting. As sometimes, against like lower blocks a lot of the ways, like to kind of, essentially to get those chances is to either switch play, drag players out of positions, bring the defense out. I don't think we do that a lot of the time. I think we're so static in certain areas, number 9 being one of the biggest areas. We're not very good. Even like Marino is a physically imposing player, but he doesn't like even physically move players out of like positions. Do you know what I mean? To like make separation. He's not like an Osman who, he makes separation physically. I would just love to see Ethan in that false 9 position and just see how he plays it, because I'm at the point where I'm like, I understand form is important going into the Champions League, but it's not the end of the world. And
we need to try things. Like we have to experiment for the rest of the season, because like that's the point. Like if we're not gonna, there's no point of just playing Marino up front every game for the rest of the season and like losing or drawing or whatever and still coming second. We might as well try some things for next season. It's going to be important. And I think you're right. Like when Eri, like I looked at every single one of his shots and they're all from central air. Like pretty much all his good shots from central areas, unless he scores like that goal against City, he's a bit out wide. But even then, it's because he receives even further out wide and he cuts in. And like every time he shoots, he basically has to have these like 3 little touches coming inside before he does it. It's like his whole thing. So I do think like, against a low, especially if Arsenal can pen a team into their box, Waneri in like centre forward would make sense, because like at least he's going to pick the ball up in central areas and he will shoot when he's in tight areas. Like he's good in them areas. I think he has like the 3rd most shots per 90 in our team this season. Yep. And I think one of them is technically Tomiyasu, because
I think he's number 1, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's like 12 per 90, because he had 1 shot in 7 minutes. And I think Saka's above him, and that's it. And obviously Saka's not been there, so I think that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I think that Arteta's it most likely, isn't he? He's going to go Trossard, Marino, and then Martinelli out on the right, I would presume. And then just knowing him in terms of like seniority, if he didn't want to play Marino and he looked at it and went, well, my available options, it would probably, if I'm looking through his lenses, it would be Trossard as the 9, Martinelli out on the left, and then Waneri on the right. I just think seeing Martinelli and Waneri down the middle is, I just can't see him do it, which is a real shame, because it would be nice to see that experimentation. And just as fans, maybe we crave just seeing something different. That's part of the reason the transfer window is like such a big thing, isn't it? Because you just want to see something different, get a player through the door. And I just don't think we will. We'll just more or less see the exact same team we see every time, and we'll see a very similar game, unfortunately. But nonetheless, hopefully we'll get a win. Predictions, mate? What do you reckon?
So I was not.
You're going to say a 0-0 draw now, aren't you?
I was actually going to say a 0-0, but then I was like, well, maybe a 1-1. Nah.
Ooh, exciting!
I'll go 1-0 win. We'll score from another corner, because we've learned how to. Because Odegaard took a corner assist against Chelsea.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
He got a corner assist for Norway 2 days ago. So maybe he's learned how to take them. So that's it.
If only he could take a direct free kick. Oh, I would take that.
Don't even start me on the direct free. I literally was that, and it was like, why are Arsenal not scoring for direct free kicks? And I was thinking, well, one of the big reasons is who's taking it. I think is one of the problems.
Mate, I would have taken Marmoush, like, just for that, because we were linked to him as well, because I was doing quite a lot of research on him at the time, and then suddenly it started about City, and I thought, of course, why not? And that's the difference, because they can drop 200 mil in a January transfer window with
children, like
children.
Like everyone keeps saying to me, like they spend so much money, and I'm like, they bought like 3 children for over 100 mil. I was like, they are just mental.
It's insane, isn't it? Like with the whole thing looming over the 115, it's just. And we can't even do it when we're, back in the Champions League, finishing second, like, a point away from winning the title and stuff. And it's just, unfortunately, we do play a complete different game. It is mad.
But this summer might be different. might be different.
Yeah.
We've got hope. We've got hope.
We have got hope, mate. I think, yeah, maybe next week, little transfer window thing, maybe. Obviously, we'll chat about the game. I said that like really briefly.
Can't wait for the 0-0. We'll talk about that. It's cool.
It's going to be the most boring analysis, isn't it? You know, should we just make some predictions now? What we're going to say? I'm going to go with what am I going to go with? Marino was not in the correct positions. Okay, I'm going to go. He was not in the correct positions, and he was not making striker runs for the half space crosses that we were using. Okay, that's my prediction here. Reese, yours?
I know I'm going to cook. Like, it's unfortunately it's going to be Odegaard. It's going to get cooked.
Oh,
no. I know. I just know it. I just know that because I keep accidentally in all my videos. I keep accidentally hitting like strays at Odegaard for no reason. I just can't stop talking about him because I just like he's so frustrated at the moment. And I do love Odegaard, but I just feel like I'm gonna be annoyed about his movement again. I am gonna be annoyed about him. He's gonna receive outside the block. He's never gonna go inside, and it's just gonna frustrate me. And I just gonna annoy me so much.
I'll try and clip it up and play this for our analysis next time, mate. I mean, what's it been? It's been an hour and 20 minutes. It's been longer than we expected, but it was so good chatting to you. Like, for a first episode, bearing in mind what have we talked? We talked very briefly beforehand, and then during one of the Discord stages, and I think that was even for like 5 minutes, something like that. It's been a pleasure, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. I feel like it's just very natural, isn't it? You know, I feel like we definitely have the same sort of perspective, I think, in certain aspects. And it's good, yeah. Obviously, the Fulham game's not going to be good though, and then next week's one will be sad and upset.
Oh, so mate, what are you doing to me?
No, we'll take the positives now. That's the thing. We'll take the positives now.
Yeah, it's a great first episode because Arsenal haven't played. Essentially, that's what we're saying. As soon as we start playing, it's going to be absolute heartache, heartbreak. Ah, wonderful! I can't wait. I can't wait for the second one. Maybe we just like gloss over it. We'll just go, by the way,
pretend it never happened.
Yeah.
This is where we'll like actually play well now, and then we'll just be like, oh, it's just typical Arsenal.
Do you know what? I haven't made a prediction. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to go with I don't think I can do it. No, I will. I will do it. Okay, it's going to be a 3-0 win. It's going to be a 3-0 win.
Three corner goals.
It's no, all open goal. Open goal. Open play goals. 3-0. 2 in the first half. 1 in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Look at you, can't even keep a straight face. I can't. And it's going to be a Martinelli screamer. This is never going to happen, is it? Miles Lewis-Skelly. He's going to get the second one.
That's more likely.
And then the third one is going to be a Martin Odegaard free kick.
Okay, well, it's definitely not happening now.
If you have been watching for the entirety of this, we do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Reese, you need to like plug your channel because obviously that's a big part of this, mate. Plug your channel, your X, your Instagram, everything. Do it. Go for it.
Yeah, Woklz Football on the old YouTube. Obviously, Woklz YT on Twitter. I don't have many followers, so come and follow me there. That's basically it. I mean, on TikTok, I think Woklz Football as well. If you want to watch that, I actually make shorts nowadays on TikTok, so
nice.
Watch them. Yeah, back again. That's basically it.
Yeah. And no doubt you'll be able to find all my stuff below anyway in the description. And see my dodgy thumbnails around on Twitter or on the Canon podcast where I sometimes reside like a like a kind of a, I don't know, a thing under the bridge. I'm kind of brought out when times are bad. That's when I appear on the Cannon podcast. Usually after a Chelsea game or after a mid-block game. No doubt I'll get a phone call this weekend going, mate, we're playing Fulham on Tuesday. You couldn't do an instant reaction for this, could you? Yeah. There you go. There's my other prediction. That one is more likely, no doubt, because no one else will want to do that one. Lovely. All right. Guys, if you haven't done so, subscribe to Woklz, subscribe to Forward on Football, and we will catch you next week. Cheers now.